everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And today we are continuing on the tradition that we do every year where we look at the summer box office and do our best to predict what is going to be the big hits at the box office. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner. David Rosen is here.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Yes. And Manda is here.
Hey, so excited to do this with you guys.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's an interesting crop. I feel like we have, it's almost all sequels or remakes of some kind, as we would expect, but there are some interesting ones mixed in there that I think we're gonna have a pretty fun summer. How do you feel, David, about it?
Yeah, I agree. It's always nowadays a lot of remakes and sequels, but there are some interesting things mixed in, and there's things that I don't think will even have a chance at cracking this top 10, but it'll be exciting anyway. And there is a strong lineup this year. I think it's looking like a great year.
Yeah. What do you think, Manda? Are you excited for the summer?
I'm so stoked. I have a couple of most anticipated films that are massive blockbusters are coming out. So I'm really excited for a couple. And I may be a little bit biased towards my answers. My little ranking here, but it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's exciting.
Well, yeah. We talked about it, that I'm notoriously terrible at this because I'm just rooting for the ones I think I was surely everyone else in the country is going to agree with me and we're all going to go and support this amazing film. but yeah, I tried to actually do my job this year and actually find comps and try to, do it a little bit more mathematically than I have done in the past. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through 10 all the way up to 2, and then we'll talk about our dark horse picks or honorable mentions that could surprise. But let's just dive in and talk about our number 10. So Manda, why don't you go first? What is your number 10? You think it will be number 10 at the box office?
Honestly, this was hard. It was
really hard.
It's so difficult. I do think that Barbie is going to crack the top 10. I don't think it's going to be higher because there are a lot of sequels and remakes, as we said. But yeah, I think that the buzz surrounding Barbie, Greta Gerwig having so much love, and then everyone loves Margot Robbie, everyone loves Ryan Gosling. And it's such an obscure little film that it could do really well. So I think it's going to crack the top 10 just because people want something light and fun. They want something that's, somewhat original. So I do think that it's going to be in top 10 for the summer.
So you have it at 10.
I have it at 10. Yes.
Okay. I also have it at 10.
Yes.
And it was really hard. This one is definitely the hardest one to predict. But it is PG-13. So I think that does put a cap on it as far as the family audience a little bit. And just with that whole 2001: A Space Odyssey trailer makes me think this is not going to appeal to kids that much, even though the ones that play Barbies. But so I had my comp. I had The Lost City, which made 105 mil in US. And then I did Legally Blonde. I feel like that's the closest to what I'm thinking we're going to get. And that for inflation made 165 million. And so I kind of went that it'll be around that, I think, is what it's going to make.
That's an interesting thing. And like I had said before we got on this call or anything, numbers are kind of tough for me. I have an order of what I think are going to be successful, but numbers, actual dollar amounts, I don't know. But using that as an example, thinking that all 10 are going to be above 100 million, that's a great summer. If that is the case, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that will be a pretty good summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I didn't see what the top 10 were last year. But it's hard to know that it feels like now we're back to 2019.
Movies are back.
Yeah. So hopefully. I don't know. What vibe are you getting from Barbie, David?
I've got it higher on my list. Oh. So yeah, we'll get to it eventually. So we'll see. But nice. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think it's going to be more for adults or what?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like, I think it's going to have this very strange life of like, there's going to be kids who are going to want to see it, but it's mostly, I think, for a certain age group of, people who grew up in the 80s and 90s. And like, I think that that's going to be the core audience of it, but then it's going to get some like, overlap with families and kids and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm. So what do you have at number 10?
Okay, so my number 10 is my biggest curveball on the list, but I wanted to include it anyway because we know horror does really well. And I feel like comedy is kind of coming back, and I may be completely insane for saying this, but my number 10 is The Blackening, which comes
Oh,
out on June 16th.
I've never heard of this.
It's from Tim Story, who doesn't necessarily have a great track record. But when I see this trailer at the theater, I've seen this now like 4 times at the theater. Every time the crowd is cracking up laughing. And I'm like, maybe this could be like one of those surprise horror hits that like just kind of comes out of nowhere and nobody sees coming. Like I said, I could be so wrong on this, but I wanted to include it at number 10 because of that reason, that I see such a great audience reaction every time I see this trailer.
Does it have any like famous stars?
I don't recognize any of them. I'm assuming most of them are TV actors.
Okay.
It's like a very silly black horror comedy,
Okay.
and it's very loud and very ridiculous. And I don't know. It looks like it could be very dumb, but it also looks like it could be really fun.
Interesting. Yeah, I had not heard of that. So that's a new one on me. But yeah,
Right
you
on.
never know. I thought about Insidious, but the last Insidious movie didn't do that well.
Yeah.
That's what I was
So that was
thinking,
the reason
yeah.
why I left it off of the list. But
Mhm.
what do you have Manda at number 9?
And number 9, surprisingly, because I am not, this is going to be controversial. I'm not a big Indiana Jones fan.
Okay.
So I don't know why. I think the love people have for Harrison Ford, the hatred that they have for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I think that's what's gonna like push Indy into the top 10 for the summer. I think for some strange reason, I just have a gut feeling that people are gonna go on a nostalgia trip with Indiana Jones, and they're like, yeah, let's go to theaters and watch it, and a whole new generation is gonna get into it as well. So I think that's what it has going for them. So I think it'll be top 10 this summer.
You don't like any of the Indiana Jones movies?
I like the first one.
The first one.
So
Okay.
I'm
It's
so
the best
sorry.
one.
I'm admittedly hit and miss on them. I'm one of those people that doesn't love the second one
Yeah.
or the fourth one. So I mean it's like
Yeah.
the Star Wars movies except for reversed.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I
Every
mean
other
Star
one is
Trek, Star
good.
Trek
So
movies.
Yeah,
we're lined up for the
it's
good one
true.
again. So
I always say that
Yeah.
only the even numbers are good in Star Trek. So,
okay.
yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, I have that much higher, and I'll explain
Okay.
why when we get there. But my number 9 is probably my risk that I'm taking. Just because I think it looks so good and it does have franchise appeal. I have the TMNT Mutant Mayhem at number 9. Here's my thinking behind that. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish made $186 million.
Mm-hmm.
And there's similar art style. It looks like it's going to get, similar animation fans and families and everything, that movie got. And the last Michael Bay Mutant Ninja Turtle movie made $191 million.
Yeah.
So I went somewhere kind of in between I had 175 is my guess. And that's probably optimistic. I just think it looks great. I absolutely loved the trailer. I thought it looked so good. And so I hope it does well.
People love
hopeful.
those turtles, man. Like,
know.
sorry. I didn't but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just thought that animation looked absolutely beautiful. I am such a sucker for that like hybrid 2D CG, like slow frame rate, awesome, tacular animation. I absolutely love it. So there'll probably be a moment where I'll get tired of that, that moment is not today.
And Seth Rogen is just coming off of what could still be the biggest hit of the year, depending on how all these other
Right.
movies do. So, I mean, he's
right.
kind of
Oh
on a
yeah,
roll.
yeah. With Mario Brothers. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where I have for my number 9. What about you, David?
I'm going to a different kind of animal for my number 9, and this is kind of also another curveball, I guess. But I don't know. I'm a little bit more on the level with this one. I'm going with Strays for my number 9. I feel like Hollywood is trying really hard to bring back raunchy comedies. We also have the Jennifer Lawrence one that's coming out, and I feel like there's a couple others on the way. This movie seems like it was made like tailor-made for me. I'm a big dog person, and I also used to love raunchy comedies. There just hasn't been any good ones lately. This is directed, I didn't realize this until I was making this list. It's directed by Josh Greenbaum, who made Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. So that's a good sign. And it's about talking dogs who are trying to get back to their owner, and it stars the voices of Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx, Isla Fisher, Randall Park, a bunch of other people. Will Forte's in it as well. And yeah, I mean, this again, this might be like one of those movies that just turns out to be just so dumb, but at the same time, I feel like this kind of movie used to do huge numbers, and I feel like we're trying to push this stuff again. We're trying to get back to where it's not just superhero movies and horror movies, and this is the kind of movie I feel like maybe could have a shot.
When does that come out?
June 9th.
Oh, I was thinking it was later for some reason. I thought of that, but then I just didn't pursue it. But yeah, it's definitely not my style.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see how it does. I mean, after Bros did so badly last year, and that was disappointing. Of a raunchy, comedy. That was more of a rom-com. But I think that a movie like Bros has a hard road to be a success, because typically women are the ones that watch rom-coms, and you have 2 leading guys, and getting them invested in that, not in any kind of like they're against it or anything like that, but it's just like the audience that typically goes to see it usually is women. So getting them invested in a story about 2 dudes, I think, is harder.
Right.
So, but okay, so now we're at 8. So Manda, what do you think?
I actually have the Meg 2 in number 8, because the first one like shocked audiences. I remember working at the theater at the time, and people were coming in like massive crowds to go watch the Meg. So I do think that the sequel is going to I think it would generate the exact same amount. But I think people love the first one so much that they will go to the theater again for that one. And I'm just basing it off of the crowd reaction the first time and how long it has taken them to make a sequel. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, it could be. I thought the first one was so boring. It was, and I love like creature scares movies. I like 47 Meters Down. I felt like I was the only one in the world who liked that. But I thought it was to me, that was a fun one, because it was fun to have a shark movie that was completely underwater. So you got to see all of the shark.
Yeah.
Right. Where most sharks just the fin, the shark movies. But I just thought that I wanted the Meg to lean into the camp and have fun with it. Like the trailers made you think, but they took it like totally seriously, and it was so boring.
Yeah, no, I agree. I did not like the first Meg, but the thing is the second one is directed by Ben Wheatley, who is just not known for this kind of movie, which that is such a weird juxtaposition that now I'm like so excited to see what direction he's going to take this. And hopefully it will be like either campy or just like very over the top. Like, I'm not really quite sure what to expect, but I definitely am looking forward to it.
Yeah. Let's see. What did he do last?
In the Earth, I believe.
Yeah, that was
really
trippy.
weird.
Yeah.
Oh, he did that Rebecca movie. That was.
Oh yeah, he did do that. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He's had a weird track record, so this is just fitting in with his filmography.
But it's definitely a contender. There's no question.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good one to have on the list. And I hope it's fun because, like I said, I really love creature scares movies.
Yeah.
I've always said for a long time that I think the ideal date movie, not a romance, because that's too much pressure.
Yeah.
The ideal date movie is a creature scares movie. So you don't want to go see something that's like murdery or like too scary, but enough that you're like, oh, a little.
Yeah. It's
Perfect.
fun. It's like a fun scare.
You
Yeah.
want to
I
like
that.
cuddle a little bit and be like, oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. So anyway, well, my number 8 is Oppenheimer. And the way it came to that was actually by looking at Dunkirk, because Dunkirk made 188 million North America. And I think that Oppenheimer is like an historical drama, kind of similar in a way to Dunkirk. And I mean, I don't know how many other people were just like so turned off by Tenet that I just, it's amazing how much Nolan lost me with that movie. Like, I just thought it was the most self-indulgent, annoying, pretentious, and to release it right then, thinking it was going to save theaters was just ridiculous. And it really irritated me. And so I'm kind of like not excited about it at all. But I still think there's enough people that probably are still excited about his movies. And I'm sure it'll be like well made, and like everyone in Hollywood is in it, either Barbie or Oppenheimer that weekend. Like everyone,
Sure.
It's true.
the whole city is hired. So that's where I have it at somewhere around Dunkirk in my projection. So I have it at 8.
I've got it higher, but I'm also not really looking forward to it. So.
Yeah.
I don't even
Oh,
have it
good.
on the list
Oh,
because I don't know. I have a strong feeling. I love him. I think he's a fantastic filmmaker. He's so good. It's just the fact that I don't know the draw for like the general audience if they're going to vibe with this.
Mhm.
So that's my only thing. And especially because it opens against Barbie, like I don't know if that's going to also bring it down a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, what did you think of Tenet?
I like Tenet. I definitely think that, he should have just waited, they didn't need to release it then. I like his movies for the most part. The only one I don't like is Dunkirk, like at all. But I like most of his movies, but this one just looks very dry. And I don't know. It's still a Nolan movie. I still get excited when he makes a movie, but there's nothing about the trailer that really gets me excited.
I just thought the whole thing with the protagonist and the like, you couldn't understand what anybody was saying. And I was just, I felt, I don't love our the closest IMAX to me. I actually don't love it. It's really loud, and I don't know, it was just miserable. I had a miserable experience watching that movie. I really didn't care for it. I've never tried it again because I was like, that was just a horrible couple of hours, and I was so excited for it. It was a big letdown. But what is your number 8?
So you mentioned it earlier in the conversation, but I actually have Insidious: The Red Door at my number 8. It's coming July 7th. Patrick Wilson stepping up to direct from just starring in the previous one. So that's interesting. It's his directorial debut. Written by Lee Wanell. So that's another thing going for it. and people love this series. I am not the biggest fan of this series, but people love these movies, and I see no reason why this isn't going to do really well when it comes out. I feel like it's almost like a legacy sequel in a way, and those do really well, and it's horror, and those do really well. So I think it's going to do great.
Well, I mean, I said that the last one didn't do well, but that's like it's made a ton of money because it only cost $10 million to make.
Right.
And so it only grossed 67 million in the US and Canada, and then 100 million worldwide, 100 more worldwide, 167 million total.
Mhm.
So if we were talking about how much money movies will make, then this could be one of the most profitable
Right.
movies.
Yeah.
Because I doubt the budget's much different than this last one.
Yeah.
But you think it's going to be a pretty good summer for horror?
I do. I think we're in the middle of a really long stretch of horror being a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it already this year, and I think it's going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
Last year, I mean, Mrs. Wimp, I saw Barbarian, and I saw and enjoyed it, and I saw The Menu and really enjoyed that.
Nice.
And so yeah, there were a lot of good horror movies last year. There was X and Pearl, and so
Yeah, Evil Dead Rise this weekend at the time of recording
yeah,
just
it's true.
Yeah.
went way over expectations. So.
Yeah, and the Scream movie did good, did well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Mona, what's your number 7?
I actually have The Little Mermaid sitting at number 7. I think it's going to do extremely well. I think the reception for Halle Bailey as Ariel from little kids, where obviously that's demographic, I think that they've been really vibing with her. And I think I've heard like majority of my family members begging me to get tickets for when it comes out. So I'm like, you guys are like this excited for the Little Mermaid live action? Like, so I think it's going to do extremely well. It looks great. I think there's like some work on like under the water. Like it could have obviously been better because it's just the trailer. They could fix it a bit more and polish it. But I do think that it's going to be something special. And a lot of people are questioning what they've changed with the songs and the lyrics and all of that. So I think that's also a draw just to see the big difference, even if it upsets us. I think that'll be a draw as well. So yeah.
I have it much higher. And I'm not a fan of, for the most part, these live action remakes. They're not for me. But I do think this is I agree, it's going to be a big hit. And that's interesting. You saying about how the changes might actually intrigue people to watch it as opposed to turn them off.
Yeah,
it could be. That could be.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting about these remakes because they're almost all instantly forgotten by everybody, including Disney. So they just have to make as much money as possible in the theatrical, because it's not like when you go to Disneyland, you don't see live action Belle, or you don't see that. They completely forget about it as well as the audience.
And it's crazy because they make so much money.
It's such a weird phenomenon. It's a weird, I don't quite understand it, but yeah. So me for number 7, I have Elemental, and I feel like this one is really hard to rank as well because the last couple Pixar's haven't done well. But as a comp, I was looking at Puss in Boots and then Inside Out. So Puss in Boots was 186, Inside Out 356 domestic, and this looks very derivative to me of Inside Out, but they did pick it for the closing night of Cannes. So that makes me think that like there must be something there. I mean, they love to boo movies at Cannes, but still, like I feel like they wouldn't pick an animated Pixar movie if for open night at Cannes or closing night of Cannes if there wasn't something there. So that makes me kind of more hopeful. So yeah, that's where I ended up having Elemental. I think it won't make as much as Inside Out, but I think it'll make right around where Puss in Boots made.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I also have Elemental at number 7, and for all
Yay.
these movies, I put like 1 or 2 like sentences of notes. For that one, I just wrote the word Pixar. Like,
Mhm.
even though their last couple, like you said, didn't do as well. I mean, you can't bet against a Pixar movie. You know, you should bet for it to do well because it's probably going to do well.
Mhm. I mean, it's not really fair to compare because like Turning Red was it didn't even have a box office release.
No,
And then
no.
No.
and then Lightyear was just such a stupid project. It was
Yeah.
so weird. Like I don't know what they were thinking with that. They should
Yeah.
have just made like Spaceman the movie. It would have been way better. All of the Toy Story stuff was just a huge distraction
Mhm. Yep.
for me at least. I was just like, what?
It's true.
What do you have, Manda, at number 6?
Number 6, these Transformers movies, I have a strong feeling this one's gonna just come out of nowhere for some strange reason.
Mhm.
It's like Rise of the Beast, so it's like another element added. And again, like I think the last 2, this is the 6th one. I think the last 2 with Mark Wahlberg didn't do well.
Well,
I don't think
finally, I
so.
think the 5th one still did pretty well, and then it was that 6th one was the final kind
That's what it
of
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Bumblebee, I think, underperformed a little bit, but that wasn't a summer
Yeah.
release.
It wasn't. I remember that.
It
And I
wasn't
loved
great.
Bumblebee.
I
I
know,
was
it's so
so
good.
annoyed that like
I
not
know.
many people went to go watch it. So I think
Agreed.
if they want to like revive it again, I don't know. I do think that people will go see Transformers and it'll be high up there. I don't know. It's a gut feeling.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about Transformers, David?
Yeah, it's so hard to gauge because like you never know like what are they doing? Like are they rebooting things? Everything still looks like it's part of the same series, but it doesn't like feel like it's different. Like I don't know. It's like it's really weird. And I don't know, the fact that they're animal transformers that, I'm kind of in on that. It's
You're
fun,
right.
but otherwise, I don't know. I barely believe this is a real movie that's coming out this year.
Yeah, it's hard to believe Anthony Hopkins was in the last one. Well, that was a paycheck.
Oh yeah.
needed needed to- needed to pay the mortgage on that one. Well, my number 6 is Fast X, and I have the last one didn't like make as much money in the States as I would have thought. I think if I was doing this worldwide, I would have it much higher. The last one made $173 million, which I mean, it's still a lot of money, but like, they have a huge portion of their proceeds come from China on these movies.
Yeah.
And so just talking domestic, I think it'll do well. But yeah, I have it at 6. I'm totally over this franchise. I'm totally bored with it. I like, to me, people are like, oh, it's dumb fun. I'm like, it's not dumb fun enough. To me, it's really like bland and predictable, and I'm just bored with it. So and I guess they're probably gonna bring Gal Gadot back, which I love her so much. So I guess there's that. But I just don't care about this franchise anymore. I'm done. And I don't know how other people feel though, but I think it'll be 6. So what about you, David? What's your number 6?
My number 6 is The Little Mermaid. Like you guys were saying, I mean, these movies, they keep making so much money, and it looks very bad, unfortunately for all involved. But like I feel so bad for anybody making an underwater movie after Avatar.
Yeah.
It's just it's impossible to not compare it. But
Especially
yeah, I
when
don't
it's the
know.
same company.
Yes.
Like you've got the tools
Right?
right there.
Yeah. You saw that promotional still they put out today?
Oh my gosh.
What even was that? Yeah, I don't know, but it's gonna make so much money. So.
Yeah, I guess that was technically a promotion for the Barbies or the dolls, but they looked horrible. Like everyone looked so stretched out. It was like, what is this? What is happening? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough one for me because Little Mermaid was the first movie I ever really loved.
Yeah.
It was very special to me. And so, seeing these quotes about how we're modernizing it and we're gonna like make changed the lyrics to Poor Unfortunate Souls. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
Alan Menken, you're selling, selling your soul. But all right. So what's your number 5, Manda?
I actually have Fast X at number 5. I think because 9 came out during like the pandemic. I remember watching it. Like I went to a drive-in specifically because my theaters were still closed. And I couldn't go watch it in theaters for some reason. But I do think that Fast X is going to do extremely well. I'm tired of it. And it was a missed opportunity to not use the tagline "Fast 10 your seatbelts," and I've said that multiple times. I can't take credit for coming up with that, but it's just I've seen it all over the place. I'm like, how have you not used it?
That's so true.
Right? And like it's right there. It's on Twitter. Like if you're gonna steal anything from Twitter, it's right there. Like why aren't you using it? But that one clip of them, the Hoover Dam, just driving, I don't know anymore what possibly they could do. So yeah, I think people are gonna go back.
I would honestly be way more interested if for Fast X, it was a street race again and just went back to the roots. That would actually be like more refreshing than like trying to one up, things. And they're going to bring back Brian, I guess, somehow through CGI or whatever. And that's going to be terrible.
It's weird. Yeah.
But, because I guess he technically hasn't died, but we had that nice moment in 7 where we all got to say goodbye. It's so stupid. Oh,
right. I know.
I don't know. What do you think about these movies? Are you still a fan, David?
I am, although 9 almost took me off course because 9 is really bad, like towards the bottom of the barrel. But 5 through 8 are all amazing, and they're all just.
I'd say 5 through 7 for me.
Yeah.
7 really good.
Yeah.
8 at least it has that scene where Jason Statham has to take care of that baby. Like that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But everything else, I was just like, I hate it. Here's my little diatribe. I hate it in action movies where the main scenes, the main thrust of the action involves people standing around staring at screens. Is the most boring thing I can think of. And there were so many scenes in Fast 8 where Charlize Theron or various other people were just staring at screens the whole time. I mean, and you're just like, this is not interesting. It's like that Jason Bourne movie that came out that you're just like, most of that movie was people staring at screens. And you're just like, you came back after having a great trilogy.
Yep.
That's all you could think of was people standing around staring at screens. Like,
yeah.
Or like the Ocean's 8 movie. Almost the whole movie was people staring at screens.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's
It's
such a boring trope when they do that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful for them to bring it back around, and then we only have one more to sit through after that. So
thank God.
Yeah.
No more familia. It's done.
No more. Yeah, or seriously, like go back to the basics. I think that would be really fun. I would totally be up for that. But
yeah.
But anyway, so Manda, what is your number 5?
I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And that is, it breaks my heart to say that, but the Marvel films at the box office haven't been doing as well as they used to. I know this is the final installment for the Guardians, but even I read that pre-sale tickets haven't been the same either. They haven't been selling as quickly. So I don't know how it's gonna, it's still high up there for me, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's gonna be like the top movie of the summer. So I think it's still in top 5 range. I kind of wanted to put it there.
Yeah, I really debated. I had for volume 2 made 389 million, and then Thor Love and Thunder I thought was a good comparison, kind of similar sensibilities and stuff, and that made 343.
Yeah.
So that still pushed it pretty high for me, but yeah, for my number 5 I have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And the last one made 220 million domestic. And it's interesting about these movies because I think they're all super well done, entertaining, but they have no staying power for me at all. Like, I don't remember them. I don't feel any nostalgia for the series at all. Like, it's sort of a weird dynamic, and I don't know if why that's particular. Like, I always felt like it was a mistake that they didn't have it more of a team feel, like the old Mission Impossible show was more of a team feel. But I guess when you have Tom Cruise as your star, then it's hard to do that kind of dynamic. But I think that's where I think it'll be as number 5. But what about you, David? What's your number 5?
Number 5's Fast X for me.
So
And
we
like you were
all have
saying,
about the same.
yeah, and like you were saying, I think like if you were talking about international, worldwide box office, it's going to be much, much higher. But just talking domestic, 5 seems right. And yeah, hopefully this kind of brings me back in because, like I said, 9 sucked.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
That was bad.
Yeah.
So Manda, what's your number 4?
It's surprisingly, and I can't believe I put it this high, but due to the controversy, I do think that The Flash is going to make bank. And I do think that it coming out the exact same weekend as Elemental is gonna just, I don't know how that battle is gonna be, but they've been talking about this movie for years and years. People are saying that it's like going to be the best superhero movie ever. And like I said, the controversy, I'm not talking about Ezra Miller controversy. I'm talking about like behind the scenes, getting this made, Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, like all that stuff. And the story itself being Flashpoint. I think, for comic book fans and the general audience, like we're all confused. And we're just going to go on this wild ride together. So I do think that it's going to be high up there, The Flash.
I debated about Flash. The thing that kept it off the list for me was just the Black Adam with a big star. Like The Rock didn't do that well, 168 US, Canada. And, then Shazam just didn't do that well. And so you think there's really no stars in the lead in this. So that's what kind of made me think, well, it's not going to do as well as Black Adam. And so then it wouldn't make my list. But what do you think, David, about that?
It's higher up on my list.
Oh.
But I do think that it's a very weird one and very hard to predict. I also really wonder, I know this is kind of a tangent, but like with Aquaman coming out afterwards, the first one made $1 billion. Like what is going to happen with that movie? That's so weird.
I think it'll be kind of similar to like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, that like the first one overperformed. And so the second one, they think, oh, it didn't do as well, but it actually like did what we all thought the first one would do.
Right. That could be. Yeah.
I think but we'll see. I thought the first one was very boring, so it wasn't for me. But we'll see how it does. So my number 4 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Nice.
And the way I figured out that is I thought that it'll bring in a similar audience as the Jurassic World movies brought in. And the last Jurassic World movie made 376 million domestic. And then I can compare it to Uncharted, which has a similar feel. And that made 148 in the pandemic. And so I think that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny will come in right in between those two, and it'll make around 250.
Fair enough. Can I just say that I thought I put Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny on my list, and I guess I didn't. So just I guess scratch the Blackening or Strays off of my list and throw it in there. So, because yeah, it's gonna make a lot of money, and I can't wait.
I'm really hopeful. I'm really hopeful. They got a great director. I think that the de-aging looks great. I don't know. I
Mhm.
think it's the best we've seen that technology yet. If you hadn't
Yeah.
told me, I wouldn't have known. The one clip from the trailer, at least. I thought it looked really good. So, all right, David. Well, then what's your number 4?
Number 4 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I
Mhm.
know Marvel's had a shaky year or so lately, especially with the last few, but yeah, I think that this is going to kind of take them back into making a lot of money and maybe getting people a little more excited again, because
Mhm.
I know I'm, burnt out quite a bit, and hopefully
Yeah.
this is going to be what they need.
Ant-Man Quantumania. What a snooze.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was not good.
So
And I
Um,
love the Ant-Man movies, but
Yeah.
no good.
Yeah. All right, Manda, what's your number 3?
my number 3 is actually Into the Spider-Verse. Oh, sorry, across
Yeah.
across Spider-Verse,
Yeah.
yes. I think that it's gonna be high up there. If I could, I'd do like my second and third spot would just be Across the Spider-Verse. I think it's just gonna like dominate massively.
Nice.
But the first one did well, and it was like more word of mouth because everyone I feel like with animation, it's such a weird thing with audiences if they're gonna like something new, like Into the Spider-Verse, and I think it did
Mhm.
so well, and people love it now. And especially after No Way Home, people are really excited to see what else they could possibly do. So I think it's gonna be like top dog. It's gonna be
Yeah.
up there, and I'm excited for it.
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, yes. I can't wait. I do think it's also going to do very well. So I think it's a good pick. All right.
Yeah.
Well, my number 3 is Guardians Volume 3. So volume, like I said, Volume 2 made 389. Thor: Love and Thunder made 343. So I think this will be kind of right around 343-ish, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, if it sucks, then yeah, it's gonna have a really high opening weekend. I'll find out on Thursday if it's any good. But if it's not good, then it won't do that well. But I hope it will be good. I didn't love the second one. I'm in that camp. Didn't love it.
Yeah.
But I love the first one. So hopefully they'll be getting back. I really enjoyed this last Christmas one that they did. So that's a good sign. So David, what do you have at 3?
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which, it's one of those movies I feel like everybody loves. And so I think everybody's going to want to see this. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I just said, I mean, with Guardians, like I'm a little in the Marvel fatigue camp, but it's, it's a different thing. It's its own animal, and I think it's gonna do great. And I think everybody who loves the first one is gonna want to see how they continue it, and if they could kind of recapture that magic again.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Manda, what's your number 2?
Oh, I'm looking through it here because I had like 2 or 3, and I'm like, I don't know. Shoot. You know, I think I doubled up by accident. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I doubled up, and I don't have like I already gave you my second.
Oh, the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I think I gave you
Okay.
my second, and I messed up my order.
That's
You
okay.
guys can go ahead.
Okay, that's
That's
okay.
what I ended up doing. Yeah.
Well, my number 2 is also Spider-Verse. It's definitely my most anticipated movie of the year. I can't wait. The animation just blows me away watching the trailer. And I think it'll have a heart, and I think it'll be great. And I absolutely love the first one of my favorite movies of all time. And I think that you will have an audience that loved the first one, but then also people who just love Spider-Man. No Way Home was such a big hit. It made $814 million domestic. No Way Home, right in the middle of Omicron. It's pretty amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
The first one made 190, And I think that this one could do significantly better than that. I mean, I just think people know about it. People are excited, I hope. So yeah, I have it. I almost considered putting it at number one, but I can't be that optimistic. But what's your number two, David?
I've got The Flash. I think, if nothing else, morbid curiosity as
Yep.
well as nostalgia for Michael Keaton as
Mhm.
Batman are going to draw just absolutely everybody out. And I think, it's an important thing to remember that, we are in a little bit of a Twitter bubble, and
Yeah.
most people do not care at all about any of the Ezra Miller controversies, or, the fact that most critics think DC movies are trash, and, or the fact that, this movie has gone through so many issues like we talked about already. I think they're just going to see Michael Keaton's Batman and just be so excited and show up to the theater.
Well, what do you think about Black Adam fizzling with such a
Right.
stars like The Rock?
That's a good point,
Like,
but also I think that Black Adam was doomed from the day one. Like, as soon as they like conceived of it, like, it was never going to do well. And I think
Mhm.
that The Rock just willed it into existence,
it was another one that was a big snooze, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I didn't love it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't have it on my list. But we'll see. Well, so Mona, what is your number one?
Listen, my love for Tom Cruise unfortunately knows no bounds. And I absolutely adore Ethan Hunt. Mission Impossible is my franchise. I love it more than Bond. I love it more than the Fast
Oh,
movies.
yeah.
Like, I'm that person. I absolutely loved Fallout, and I think a lot of people kind of went into that like there was like a new wave of fans that went in to go watch Fallout, and they're like, damn, these Mission Impossible movies are actually pretty good. So that kind of did it. And then Top Gun Maverick doing as well as it did, I think that's going to be an extra push for Tom Cruise at the box office. So back-to-back summers, Tom Cruise gonna make that Billy. I really do think it's a possibility. So MI7 definitely up there for me, and it's a two-parter, so we got to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and he like almost died making it, so you got to give
He
him
always almost
props.
dies.
It always does. So
Well, my number one is The Little Mermaid. I don't want it to be. I'm not particularly excited myself, but I just think if you look at the math, The Lion King made 543 million domestic. But it's interesting because it made like double that overseas. I didn't realize that until researching this, that it made $1 billion overseas, that movie.
Insane.
So that's crazy. But I just feel like there's more interest in this Little Mermaid than there is in The Lion King. I feel like little girls are just gonna be super excited. Everyone's gonna take their families, and it's gonna make like an insane amount of money. And yeah, I just I think it's gonna
I
win.
agree. It's going to be such a huge hit, and hopefully it's good. It would be great if it's good. It doesn't look good,
Yeah.
but hopefully
No.
it's good, and it's going to make so much money.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always happy when theatrical does well, and I hope that people enjoy the movies. So hopefully it'll be good, but yeah, I'm not very optimistic about it. But these remakes are critic proof.
Yeah.
It's almost guaranteed. To make but David, what's your number one?
Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I mean, come on, like you said, back to back summers. And also, I mean, the last Mission Impossible movie was maybe the best one. Like, it's close, if not the best. It's like the second best. Like, he's on such a roll right now, and Maverick was just incredible. And I think there's enough momentum here that this is going to be like the movie to beat this year. And it's also an incredible trailer. I mean, I think I find it hard to believe that people that aren't into that series don't watch that trailer and are like, oh wow, okay, that's a movie right there. Like, it just looks so good.
Yeah. It is a good trailer. You're right. It could be. That would be interesting. Because a movie like that doesn't have the family audience, which is the reason why I think Little Mermaid is going to win, because they just have a larger pool to draw from.
Yeah,
It's
that's
smart.
true.
Yeah,
But
it's
I'm gonna go see this twice. So
Okay. There you
Me
go.
too.
Yeah, I saw Top Gun Maverick 3 times.
yeah, me
too.
too.
One time at the drive-in, and it was super fun because it's pretty near the airport, the drive-in, and so it was kind of a fun like environment
Nice.
to see it.
Yeah.
But all right, well, let's go over our list real quick. So at number 10, I have Barbie. At number 9, I have TMNT, Mutant Mayhem. Number 8, Oppenheimer. 7, Elemental. 6, Fast X. 5, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. 4, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. 3, Guardians Volume 3. 2, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And 1, The Little Mermaid. So Manda, what is your 10 or 9?
Yeah, at 10, I think I counted. Anyways, I'm just gonna give you my 10 that I have listed here. So at 10, I have Barbie. At 9, I have Indiana Jones. At 8, I have The Meg 2. At 7, I have Little Mermaid. 6, I have Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. 5, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 4, I have The Flash. 3, I have Spider-Verse. Oh, I did move that. That was the mistake. I had Fast X in second spot, and that was my mistake. I
there we
did.
go.
I did a switcheroony and I screwed it up, but it's okay. But most importantly, I have Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 in first place.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, David, what's your list?
So I also made some mistakes here because I realized, like, as I was moving things around and reordering, I somehow left Barbie and Oppenheimer off. So I don't know. This whole list is nonsense. But
and Indiana Jones.
And Indiana Jones. So I had number 10, The Blackening. Number 9, Strays. Number 8, Insidious: The Red Door. 7, Elemental. 6, The Little Mermaid. 5, Fast X. 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. 2, The Flash. And 1, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Very good. We did it. And it'll be fun coming back in August, and we can see who got the most right in their predictions. That will be a lot of fun. And I'm surprised our lists are actually pretty different, which is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually,
I
I
almost
didn't
included Haunted Mansion on mine, but I didn't quite think. I thought, if people aren't going to waste their money on 2 of these remakes.
Yeah, I didn't end up doing the Dark Horse, but because we kind of covered everything.
Yeah.
The only other one that I had as a possible, there were a couple others that I had with the Blue Beetle. I had as a
Sure.
possible
Yeah.
if it's like surprisingly good but doesn't look that good. And then Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken could be a surprise. I think the new DreamWorks movie. You never know with DreamWorks, and I thought it kind of looked fun. So that could be a surprise. I didn't end up having Flash or Transformers on my list, but they could definitely be in there. And then Haunted Mansion I thought about it. It's their second one, but one interesting thing is that Disney has not had a hit with a live action film that's not a Marvel Star Wars or a remake in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's not from lack of trying. They have started like tons of different movies that had potential, like Tomorrowland and John Carter, and I don't know, there's just a long list, Jungle Cruise, things like that like on paper had tons of potential, but they've actually been pretty bad at live action movies, aside from the Pirates movies, and so it'll be interesting to see if it breaks that trend.
Yeah.
But there we go. We did it. So if you are listening, watching, let us know what you think of our predictions and give us your list in the comments. We'd love to have that. That would be really fun. And Manda, how can people find you for all your content?
Yeah, well, this was a blast as per usual. This is awesome. I'm excited for the summer. You guys can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema.
And David, how about you?
People can find Piecing It Together on all the podcast apps and piecingpod.com, and also follow me on social media at piecingpod, and also our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the Hallmarkies podcast. Lots of fun stuff going on over there. And please, if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. Also, the Patreon group and merch store. Check that out. And thanks to both of you. And hopefully I'll have a great summer. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.